Hey, you guys, good morning. Hey, so I'm going to do a couple things that are kind of cool on this. I just had the inspiration this morning that I'm actually going to give away, because some of you guys are up really early watching. I'm going to give away my book, which has all of the information that I've used to be able to build a seven-figure business working from home in like my jammies. And then also the information that I teach all my mentorship clients, which is how to have a simple conversation that really converts to making an impact in the world and making a difference. Plus, really just takes care of your financial future. So I'm going to give this away. And here's what I'm going to do, because I want to get some more people on this Facebook Live really quick, is the person who actually, by the end of today, at let's say 3 o'clock Pacific, so that's 6 o'clock Eastern, the end of the day, whoever shares this post the most, I'm going to actually just have my team mail you this. So it's my sales training on how to have a simple conversation that converts to really making a big impact in the world and takes care of your bank account. And then also my book, which I'll write you a little note about some pages that I think you should spend the most time on, which is really my plan that I've used to be able to build my business and really skyrocket it. It's also what I teach all my mentorship clients. So good morning. How are you? All right, you guys. Good morning from Germany. I love that, Tony. Good morning. Hello from St. Barth. Awesome. Good morning. Oh, you guys, nice. Athena, thank you for sharing. So the person who shares the most, because I want the most amount of people to take advantage of me getting up I actually get up early, but for me to show up on video this early in the morning and answer your questions and talk, I just want to get it out there and get the most amount of help, most amount of impact that I can. Okay, so first of all, I want to share something with you. Yesterday afternoon, I did a VIP day with one of my clients. And she came here to San Diego, and we were looking at her plan. And so I'm doing this crazy thing right now, and I'm giving away my Porsche to my clients, not for any specific reason other than to just give them more of an incentive to have their best quarter ever. So basically what they're doing is they're comparing 2016's quarter to 2017's quarter, and they're actually competing in 3 different areas, but they're trying to make as much money as they can over this quarter. And here's why I thought about doing this, and that is because it's crazy to me when I give the same information to a group of people, but why do some people excel and some people just kind of do okay, and then other people, say, Shanda, I didn't get enough support. You know what I mean? Like they blame. Right? They blame and they become a victim. And please know I'm not putting those people down. I'm just saying that, the way that you think about things is a key configuration of why you'll make it or you won't make it. Like, come on, let's be honest. I could blame a lot of people for my lack of success or success in my life. However, that's not what got me here. What got me here was being responsible, recognizing where I fell apart in a conversation, in a coaching program, even in relationships, right? So when you start operating like that, life totally changes. So I'm working with this client yesterday, and I took pretty much everything off her plate. She's trying to win my car, and I took everything off her plate so that she would make $80,000 cash over the next 60 days. And it was crazy because it was 8 clients, right? So it was 8 clients. And I'll give you a lot of information about this, but what I want you to hear is that there was a book, The One Thing. I've been saying for many, many years, just focus on one thing. I've been watching people do product launches recently and people who are successful, like Russell Brunson. He's like, focus on one super niche. And I think what happens is we get excited about, really creating freedom for ourselves and making an impact in the world. And we end up getting really busy. And when you're really busy, you miss things, right? When you're even inside my company, one of our managers has been really busy. She's like a superstar. She's been super busy. So what happened was somebody had asked me to speak at their event. And because she's super busy, she was waiting for me to answer a question on whether or not I would take that event to go speak at but 2 weeks went by and then the spot got taken. And it's a perfect example of what happens when you're too busy. And so I share this with you because, if she would have not been so busy and followed up with me or text messaged me or called me and said, hey, do you want this? Which I did want it. Then we would be speaking at that event in Las Vegas. Right. And so you got to think, like, how many things are you not following up on? How many things are you missing out on because you've planned too much, right? You've actually planned too much. And so with my client, what I did was she was like, okay, I'm going to start selling a group program, and then maybe I can launch this 6-week program and sell that. And, her heart's in a good place because she wants to make a big difference and she's willing to work, right? Like, how many of you guys are willing to work? Just go ahead and let me know. How many of you guys are willing to work? Like, you'll work like crazy on a plan to get there. Just say, yes, I'm willing to work. Just let me know. Well, it's like many of us are willing to work. I mean, I hear this all the time. If you just give me a great plan, I'll do whatever it takes. But the challenge is if you've got too many plans, then what happens is you actually become less. That's right, Tony. Yes, I'm totally willing to work. Suji, yes, I'm totally willing to work. Journey, will, yes. So you guys get it. So Shanda, like, you guys are like, yeah, we're totally willing to work. And I get it. Challenge is do you have too many plans on the table? So what I did for my client yesterday is I took the coaching program off, even though you think, okay, maybe if she sells a group coaching program, she'll make so much money over the next quarter, she'll win my car. But the thing is I actually when you can take a step back and look at what you're doing, she needed to make the most amount of money over the next 2 months to be able to win my car. And that wasn't going to be in her selling more people into a group. It would be her opening up and giving her time to do daily intensives, right? So for those of you guys who don't know what that is, a daily intensive could be a VIP day. It's like what she did with me coming here, right? So I have 3 daily intensives this week where people have flown in. They're flying in today. I have one today this afternoon. They're flying in and they work with me for a lot of the day, and it's a VIP day. It's intensive. So I'm going to share with you what I shared with her. She said, well, why would somebody pay for a VIP day with me or intensive when, she finds it actually challenging to even like sell a group program. Now let me say something to you. I have 3 clients because they're trying to win my car, all in the last month that I've taught this cash injection strategy to. Instead of trying to sell 6-week programs and instead of trying to sell even like finance programs where you're financing it over the year, where people are working with you for 6 months, 10 months, or 12 months, sell an intensive for the day. And by the way, these 3 clients, none of them even knew how to do an intensive. And all of them, except for the one yesterday, because she hasn't actually like done it yet, have all sold 1 to 4 intensives for $5,000 each. Now that's very low price still. I mean, to do an intensive with me, you would spend $18,000. So that's a low price. However, it's the first time they've ever done it. Here's what I want you to take away on this. Sometimes the avenue or the plan that you should be working is actually a plan that you might even not even be open to because you've never done it before. But you got to look at like, what is your objective and what are you trying to do? And what are you willing to do? Like, making money and building a business is actually a very unselfish thing, because you have to get so uncomfortable in some areas. Like, these clients like to open up to sell an intensive day with them when they've never done it before and ask $5,000 for that. That's scary. Like, what if you fail? What if you don't know what to say? What if the client's not happy? How do you structure the day? How do I even sell that? How do I talk to people? Like, all those self-doubt moments come inside their head. But what if you were to take that challenge, that stretch, and over the next 24 hours, you went out there and you made offers to be able to sell an intensive with you, where you'd work with somebody for an entire day for, let's say, $5,000. So an interesting point that I think is powerful for you to know. I have another client who called me up and she trusts me and I love her. And she sold 6 figures. It took her 2 years to sell, and then she sold 6 figures in literally like 1 quarter, right? And in like 3.5 months, she sold 6 figures, but without being able to sell for 2 years. So I always say, if people don't blame the situation and they don't give up, they will eventually make it. It's like something just goes, aha, and clicks inside your head and works, right? At least in our program. So like, I think there's a lot of great coaches out there. So if you've got a great coach and you're not making money yet, just trust the process. If you don't have a great coach that people are not winning, then maybe you need to change the plan, right? But if you're in a program and lots of people are winning, then maybe you just have to stick it out a little bit longer and wait for that aha moment to click and for it to start working. Because like I said, I've got clients who, you know, just explode in 6 months, and have clients like my other client just recently who she called me up and she'd done 6 figures in a quarter. And then all of a sudden, like, she spent a lot of that money, right? And this is another thing. I could go on a million different ways, but I have another client that went from, you know, food stamps to 95,000. And before I know it, she's trying to spend every dollar that she makes, right? And so we have these patterns of what we're comfortable with. And then we have these other patterns of, like, when we explode, how do I get back to that comfort space where I'm comfortable really having no money, right? So as I digress, this other client who made 6 figures in a quarter, Jackie, she called me up a couple weeks ago. I was like, I think, like, I'm in kind of a cash crunch because I've got a parenting coach, I've got a nanny, a live-in nanny, I've got, you know, all of these other things that she's working on. And she goes, and I'm going to take the month of July off anyway, but I'm kind of getting into a cash crunch. And I said, so first and foremost, tell me all the areas that you're spending your money. So she tells me all of the areas that she's spending her money. And I'm like, that's a luxury, that's a luxury, that's a like, you have a bunch of luxuries. By the way, the live-in nanny is not a luxury. That is actually a necessity for a woman like her to be able to build a business and be able to create something spectacular in the world. Getting a house cleaner is not a luxury. It is actually, you know, something that someone who's running a business needs, because if you're cleaning the house, you're not actually making sales calls or building your email list or speaking at events or cutting videos, or, you know what I mean? You're not giving. You're not like up at 6 a.m. doing coffee with Shanda and giving, right? You're not giving if you have to worry about all of those things. And so, but there were other things she had in her life that were a luxury. And what she was going to do is I said to her, well, is the business coaching working? And I said to her, and trust me, like you guys, I mean, I even recently just told a client that I might help her find another business coach because I don't know if she can hear me anymore. My point in sharing this with you is that, I mean, I'm really clean in my advice to people in the essence of, and I want you to be as well, in the essence of, there's just so much business to go around. Just do the right thing for the human being standing in front of you. So back to my client, Jackie, she's up. So she basically, I said, what do you spend your money on? And is the business coaching working? And I know it is because I'm coaching her. And she said, yes, like 90% of everything in my life has happened over the last few years because of you. And I said, so then why would you cut off the business coaching? Like the thing that is actually moving you ahead, because in her head, she thought she could maintain it for a few months. And that's like an evil little trick of the devil. It's like an evil little trick of the devil that gets inside your mind and starts giving you these logical thought processes that disconnect you from the tribe. And don't ever underestimate the power of being in a good tribe. Because even if you're not moving forward, or even if you're, you know, having some challenges or you haven't popped yet, being around a good tribe influences your mind like crazy. When you see other people rocking it, eventually you get pissed off enough and you rock it, right? Yeah, at some point there's a belief that shifts in your head and says, if that person can do it, I can do it, right? And then all of a sudden your whole world changes. But when you're off and you're the sheep on its own away from the tribe, and the devil's gotten inside your head and you've logically thought that you could maintain or move over here just until then and then I'll come back, what happens is you're the one that gets eaten because you're away from the tribe. So I said to her, you don't want to cut off business coaching, or like you just don't, right? And so she got it. And I said, instead, what I'd like you to focus on is sell an intensive. I've never sold an intensive before. Yeah, but just that doesn't matter. Get used to it. Get used to being uncomfortable as an entrepreneur. There's a lot of things we do that we just have to trust ourselves that we're going to do whatever it takes to be good to the human being, right? And so I said, I give you 24 hours to sell an intensive. take everything off your plate. What you need to hear with me right now is it's hard to take everything off your plate when you don't trust the process. And sometimes you authentically don't trust the process because you have all of this chatter saying that this can't work, right? Or this isn't going to work, or I can't sell at that price. How am I going to sell at $5,000 for a day, right? But you got to shut all that down. And so I said, shut all that down, and I give you a stretch. And over the next 24 hours, sound intensive. And she did a pay in full intensive. And so all of a sudden she gets this realization, don't separate from the tribe, right? Don't separate from the tribe. Stay here and don't try and sink into your limitations, skyrocket up to where you want to go. If you put your attention on behind you and protecting yourself, and you're trying to look forward, it's like driving. Imagine driving, you're driving along, you're like, eventually you're going to rear end the person in front of you. And then it becomes an even bigger problem because now you've got a car accident in front of you. My point is that don't create car accidents for you because you're always going like this. Pay attention and be intimate to what you're working on and focus on something that's bringing you ahead. Okay, so I'm going to open up and take some questions. And if you got a question for me in your business, just go ahead and just type in your question and I will answer your question. Is this helpful, you guys? Let me know if this is helpful. Awesome. I'm reading right now. That's why I'm looking down here. I love this. I even see this with my moms that I work with. They overplan, schedule, and then they run themselves into the ground. Yeah, Stephanie, it's so here's what's crazy. Overplanning is actually control, and we overplan because we control. So I have another client that just came for an intensive, a VIP day, and she came in with 3 different like wall-size sheets of all the things she wanted to accomplish. And here's the thing, in a VIP day or a daily intensive, you really only accomplish 1 or 2 main things. And that's what we did. We accomplished creating an event for her, and we accomplished some stuff in her team, how to bring on some new employees, or actually her second real employee. It'll be her second one in a year, which is very exciting. And, you know, when I saw the list, like if I see lists, if you guys have lists, big to-do lists right now, here's what I know about you. I know you're a control freak, and you got to if your head is bogged down with all those details, you just don't have enough energy to be able to execute anything really well. Okay, so questions. Yes, it's helping. Good. Okay. Oh, I love this. Good morning, Shanda. Having a superfood greens drink to start my day, clean and green. Awesome, Leah. So in my Heartcore Cup, we often give these away at my Zone event, which you guys is coming up September 25th, 26th, and 27th in Palm Springs. I'm over the top excited. I do not have the registration page up yet for it. We're working on it. So if you Google thezoneevent.com, you're going to actually get last year's Zone event. But this Zone event is in Palm Springs, and I'm super excited. And do you want to know what the theme is? The theme is leads and leverage, how to create a whole new life. I'm so excited. So Leah, thank you for sharing your greens. I'm drinking maca. I'm drinking a maca latte. Okay, and if you guys are drinking your tea or coffee or whatever you're drinking, share. I want to hear. Okay, so I'm willing, but okay. So Susanna, I'm willing, but I do get too busy and pulled in too many directions. Okay, so Susanna, here first and foremost, you don't actually get pulled in too many directions. Right there, you're actually giving away your power. I bet you're even blaming some people on that. Like, you do this and it causes me to do this, right? So really be conscious about how you're speaking into things. So you're choosing to be really busy, and you have to know that, because the first step to recovery of being a workaholic or a busyholic is to actually recognize that you have the power to change this and you're making these decisions, right? So what I recommend is start practicing just trying to accomplish one or two things for the entire week. At the Zone event, I often teach people about three. If you have three things on your list for the entire week and you accomplish those, even if you put those three things like on your mirror that you brush your teeth in, like stupid simple really works. Like it just really works. In fact, when I spend time with some of my friends that are in the hundreds of $1 million companies, it's like, what are you doing today? It's like one thing. And you think it's because they have 1 million people working for them. But the way that you get 1 million people working for them is actually working for you is actually letting go of control. You don't let go of control when you have more people working for you, because actually at that point, what happens is they're not doing it the way that you would do it. And so then your control monster comes out even more. So you got to practice it. God's really, really smart. God never gives you more abundance if you can't handle the abundance you have now. God doesn't give you more abundance unless you can handle the abundance you have now. So that means you have to unleash from emotional triggers and you have to get busy. The panicked energy of overwhelmed actually causes you to miss out on a better future, on a whole new life. Okay, so awesome. So Tony, I have a full-time teaching job, second grade, bless your heart. And I'm going full force with List Power. I think that's List Power and blogging. Okay, is that List Power, Tony? Is that my List Power program? Is that what LP means? Just so that I know. Okay, so here's great. So you have a full-time teaching job. I don't know what you're going to offer after your list building program, but I always think that our past influences our future. And I will tell you the homeschooling market is a huge market. Even teaching parents how to homeschool is a huge market. I'm actually looking at doing that with Zach at some point here as well. So, don't be stressed out. You can change your pace. So for instance, horrible things happen to people all the time. Not that your job is horrible, but I'm saying, like, if it wasn't your job, it could be something else. Like yesterday, unfortunately, I found out that my cousin actually stopped breathing, is younger than me, and stopped breathing. And, in the middle of my day, I get a phone call from my mom telling me my cousin's passed away. And it was a horrible moment, but I also read online somebody else who, a friend of theirs passed away, and then they just stopped working. Right. And so these moments happen and you change your pace, right? You change your pace. And so it's not about people don't want to shut down because they got full-time jobs and they're trying to build businesses, or people that you love pass away, or, I was doing IVF and 2 rounds of IVF didn't work. And, but you just, the key to learning how to bring in more in your life is actually learning how to weather those storms and not bottle it up like, I'm okay. Well, no, you're not okay. Those are crazy moments in life, right? Like overwhelmed is a crazy feeling, but you got to learn how to unhook from those things and still be able to move forward in a powerful way. That's what leaders do. Could you imagine if my whole staff, I mean, honestly, it actually happened to someone I love very dearly, multi-millionaire. His mother died, and he basically stopped going to work 3 days later and lost all of his millions. You know what I mean? Like, the responsibility is that we figure out another way. So Tony, for you, if you've got a full-time job, if List Power is what you're doing, if you're doing my List Power program right now, then what you want to do is change your pace, right? Like, you don't want to be, a pro is excellent in the things they do. So you don't want to be going into school and be thinking about your List Power program or your summit. You want to be present for those little beautiful children that you're working with. You want to be a pro there, right? Which I know you probably are. But then, like, how do you deal with the feeling of being overwhelmed when you're done and you've got so much to do? You take the pressure off yourself. You say, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to build a 5,000 person list on this program, but if I built 1,000, right? And I sold one of my good friends is in my Pace Club program, which we have another Pace Club starting up here in July. where I teach you how to build a list, and then I teach you how to sell to that list over the course of the year, right? It's the Freedom Program. But my friend went through it and has a full-time job like you, Tony, and also like flies around the world training. So he's not only not central, he just had a new baby. He flies all around the world and has a full-time job and is in my Pace Club program. And he changed the pace. He had a 500-person list built. So he wrote an email yesterday and sent it out to that list and had 10 people sign up to talk to him about hiring him. Now, his offer is a $7,000 offer. Imagine if he sold 3 today. That's incredible. But you change your pace. So my point is, Tony, is, don't worry about knocking it out of the park for your list build. You can have a shitty list build and still do magical things with it. And then make your vision be, the next time I do the list build, I'm going to knock it out of the park as I transition out of my job, if that's what you're doing. Okay, so I hope that helps. So, okay, Sloan, I'm a victim of this and took your advice. I'm not tackling more than 3 serious goals in 1 year. Awesome. Awesome, good. So that's great. So Sloan, so you took my advice. You're tackling 3 things in 1 year. Yeah, so I recommend that. So if you're doing tasks, you can do 1 to 3 tasks in a week, but then look at your overall arching year. And so many people have too much packed into a year. And by the way, like those 3 things, like she's killing it in my Pace Club program. Woohoo! She's also completing CHI Marathon. Woohoo! My endurance athletes. And completing ALA, which is a pretty intensive personal development program. So mental, physical, income oriented goals. I love it. So you actually just proved my point, Sloan, is that sometimes those 3 things in a year are not always business. Sometimes, like 1 year, mine was to find Ash. I keep calling him my fiance, but now he's my husband. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so Carmen, I have about 30 potential clients to follow up with. I feel I don't get to connect with them as much as I would like to. How often should I follow up? So Carmen, I have clients that I followed up with for a year. And you know why? Because they stood out to me. So remember that follow-up is a caring process. Like they're lucky that you're following up with them, right? They're lucky. Some of these clients that I followed up on, one of them now works for me, who's amazing and crushing it. Another one, two other ones that I can think of still work with me. And it was years ago when I used to do sales, and they're still clients of mine. So it's good for me and good for them because they actually have businesses today, right? So, when you care about somebody, like I followed up with them because they stood out to me, right? So the more you'll never ask that question again if the more you care about them and the more you take the pressure off yourself. This is a theme for this Facebook Live this morning. The more you take the pressure off yourself, the less tactical life becomes, right? So business is a human to human game in the essence of, you're helping another human being. So really just try and, I love putting people up on a wall and putting their names up on a wall because I'm visual, because if I put them on a Word doc somewhere in my computer, somehow I lose them and then their life doesn't get saved, right? And so, put them up on a wall and put little notes beside each of their names and then just follow up with them as you even remember, because they're in front of you, you're going to follow up with them much more than if they're kind of in a computer somewhere. Okay, so I'm definitely the person who has too much plans, too much planned. I love it, but yes, that's me. Okay, that sounds like you're going to keep being too many things planned. Okay, do you guys have questions? Just shoot me the threads filled up. I love it. Okay, just a quick reminder. Okay, so you guys, by the end of today at 3:00, the person who actually shares this Facebook Live the most, I'm going to send you a copy of my book, signed, and I'm going to tell you what pages you should be focusing on, which is really the plan that I've used and teach my clients over my mentorship programs on how to build a business working from home. And in addition, I'm also going to give you my cash flow program, which is how do you really have a conversation, like a 15-minute conversation, and be able to help more people, make more money yourself, but be able to make offers that really do make a difference for people. So if you ever have a challenge like making an offer and people don't buy, or they've got excuses or objections, or they just can't get over their limitations to say yes when you know that you can help them, then this is going to be a game changer for you. So 3 o'clock Pacific today, 6 o'clock Eastern, we're going to look at this Facebook Live and see who shared the most. So go ahead and just go up to the top and share, and let me send you this gift on me. Okay, awesome. Okay, I think I just saw, how do you get, good morning, Estella. I'm not much of a singer, but. Okay, so let's do this one. I'm on the last day of a Facebook challenge today, webinar Monday, plan to pitch my 9-month program Monday. Awesome. What sort of bonus and discount do you recommend for signing on the spot? Okay. Let me take a sip of my maca. Everybody, this is Coffee with Shanda, or Maca with Shanda, so make sure you're taking a sip of your greens or your maca or your coffee or your tea. Okay, so basically what sort of bonuses and discounts do you recommend for signing on the spot? So I'm not a big discount person for mentorship programs. I'm not very big on that, but I do love to incentivize people. So there's so many fun ways of doing this. There's a book that's called Words That Sell. I actually recommend you get it on Amazon. And there's like all of these guarantees and incentives in that book that are great ideas. I recommend you get it. But remember, you're an entrepreneur and you get to make this up. You know, like it's your company. And so remember that you don't want to fit into the crowd of people giving incentives and bonuses. You want to create something new, or create it. I mean, when I say create something new, let me just backtrack for a second. There are proven things that work well. However, what I don't want to do is squish your innovation, right? So I just said to one of my clients, I said, what if you offered an incentive bonus for your clients who signed up on the spot, that you would give them like $400 or $500 at the end of the program if they actually like showed up to every call and completed the program, right? So what if we all as entrepreneurs, instead of thought about how do we, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Kelly, this is just something that I just want to bring awareness to. Instead of like, how do we market to get, right? I get it. Like, we want to grow our companies. We want to make more money. We want to make an impact in the world. For me, I want my life to matter, so I want to give more, right? But it's like, what if we created bonuses to have people win, right? So I said to my client the other day, she asked me a very similar question. I said, why don't you incentivize them to actually complete your program, right? Why don't you incentivize them, if they show up to every call, right, that they will get a completion bonus? And in that, the interesting thing about that is, first of all, it works as an incentive bonus for them to sign now, because if they don't sign now, they don't get that incentive bonus, right? If they want to think about it, I know I'm going to do the program, but I need to think about it or ask somebody or whatever. It's like, no, get in your leadership. I'm going to give you $500 if you complete this program, if you want to sign up now and make a decision, right? What's cool about that is when people have cash in their pocket, whether you give it to them in a cash card or give it to them with cash. I mean, have you ever been part of like Victoria's Secrets? They send you coupons all the time, right? Or cash cards for $20 or 20% off. You can't help but to spend it, right? You can't help but to spend it. And so there's a great thing, because it actually hooks them into really wanting to stay with you. Oh, my little guys. You guys are going to meet Zach. Hi, Zach. Hi, buddy. Hi, my love bug. Come here. Can I have a hug? Can I have a hug? Come here. Oh, little Zach just got up. Come here, Zachy. Can you bring him to me so I can say hi? And Ash is up. All my love bugs are up. Hi, baby. Come say hi. Come say hi. Say hi. Hi. Say hi. I love being a mom. So anyway, think about incentives and bonuses that actually bring people to a completion, right? And to success. So there are lots of different bonuses you can discount. You could discount your deposits. You could do things like that. You could even put deposits on the back. Okay, bye. Deposits on the back of programs. There's a lot of things you can do to incentivize people to like buy on the moment or take action or make a decision. But I'm really big on finding ways to incentivize people to win. Okay, so this is my cue that I am going to go have breakfast with my guys. And Zach's really into blues these days. And thank you, guys. Thank you for spending coffee with me this morning. I hope that this was helpful. I hope this made a big difference for you. Please, just a reminder that if you help me help more people with my time, because that's really what I'm up to right now, I will send you my sales training and my book, Whoever Does the Most Amount of Shares, by 3 o'clock today. So God bless. Have a great day. And I will talk to you soon. Fun.